Right, this is just sort of like a general blog entry, I suppose. And it sort of like cuts across two things. My Asperger's and also I'm a Muslim. So a recurrent theme that I have is that when I'm dealing with people who are born Muslims, they don't really tend to have a lot of Islam behind it, if any at all, really. It's just cultural or what they've learned. And it's not it's integrated what they have learned, but unfortunately, it's not source based. It's just based on somebody telling them something. Um, and what tends to happen to me is most times I'm okay because I'm an introvert anyway, so I keep myself to myself. But there are certain occasions, obviously, where I have to mix with people, and that's where things show at the seams, and these incidents occur where there's like looks like loggerheads because they'll observe that I do something and then make a comment as to why I shouldn't do that without realizing that obviously I'm nearly 50 and also I've been a Muslim for over 25 years, so obviously I know what I'm talking about, and there's this presumption that I don't know. I mean, because I'm firstly, I don't know if they do see me as a Muslim because of the way that I look and present. But also this idea that they don't understand what 25 years as a Muslim actually means. And obviously anybody who is a revert, that's why I class myself as somebody who's reverted back to their original state, will tell you, we have this issue. It's a case of when we came to Islam, we came from definitely not Islam. There was no Islam there at all. Yeah, so we had to learn. And the beautiful thing about that is that we could tell the difference between anything in us which is not Islamic as opposed to anything which is, because there was a period when we definitely weren't that. And we can make the distinction. Plus, everything that we do is evidence-based. We have evidence for everything that we say and we do. So we know we're correct because we had to make sure that we were when we came to Islam, because we started off with nothing. So you get these situations, and I don't know. The reason why I'm making the blog entry is because it highlights something about my Asperger's, which is that I am rule based. Because I think the thing is, when you're going through life, you don't see yourself really the way that other people see you. So they may see things in you that you don't see yourself. When you're doing things day to day routinely, it's just a case of, well, that's me. You don't think about it. So when it comes to, like, for example, I'm going for a diagnosis, hopefully, of Asperger's. It's a case of, am I really? Am I? Sometimes you do sort of like question it because you get used to a routine of dealing with things. Yeah, it's part of like this masking, which I actually go on to. And it's when you get these little incidents, they actually highlight, yes, you are. They sort of like prick you and point a finger and say, yes, you are. And in this particular instance, what had happened was, it was a long time ago now, but I remember it. I'd actually put. What had happened was, some of my outer clothing had fallen onto the floor. It was like in a place. It's like a public place where people walk, and the floor obviously it hadn't been mopped or anything like that. But it wasn't. It wasn't like there was dog poo there or anything like that. So it was a case of my coat had fallen, and it was just inconvenient. I needed to take my gloves and my hat off as well. It was inconvenient to actually go somewhere else to take them off at that particular point in time. So I just put them where my coat was, on top of my coat. And this person came up and they objected to me doing that, saying that, oh, this place is unclean. And I know why that is. That's because he was a born Muslim. And in certain groups from the born Muslims, they have this thing about, they have this almost obsession. In fact, it's an obsession, but they don't see it as that because they link it to Islam, which does talk about cleanliness and purity. It's actually an aspect of Islam, but they do it to the nth degree. And because it's cultural, it's not actually based on Islam, because Islam doesn't say go to that extreme. Yeah, it sets certain rules which are within human capabilities, but that's it. So I just had like a as a question mark, what is he talking about? That you should put them because it's unclean. You should put them in a cleaner place, and so obviously that set me off thinking with my rules, like a machine. And so, firstly, I'll go into the points now. The first one was, first of all, it's not doing you any harm. Yeah, this is like on a personal level. This is not like I suppose. Well, I suppose it is Islamic. Yeah, I could bring out the points for this as well, which we reverts could do because we know all of the points for everything. It's not doing you any harm. Yeah, so why are you mentioning it again? It sort of like brings this notion that he's a bit obsessive. Yeah. Secondly, I'm a 46-year-old adult. Don't you think I've already checked to make sure there's nothing dirty on the floor? If there was obviously dirt there, I would have moved it. I'm not stupid. And like I said, because this is something to do with Tahara, it's called in Arabic, which is the base language for Islam. Yeah, obviously, I started going through the rules pertaining the particular rulings that are in my head with regards to that particular subject. So the first thing is that it was actually to do with methodology. It was how I actually dealt with the situation because I wasn't dealing with purity really. After I'd actually mentioned to him that it doesn't contravene. I mean, can you see the dirt? Is there any dirt there? No, because it's paranoia. It's all in your imagination. Yeah, there's no dirt there if you can't prove that there is. Yeah, and life and devoting yourself to the Almighty is not based on paranoia. It's only based on what the Almighty has said. So He's told us everything. That's what Islam is. It's complete. So anything you need to say, you need to bring evidence for it. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're making rulings for the whole of the world, for all human beings. You, one person, I stood there and making rulings for the whole of the people, because that's what I represent. I represent all of the people on the earth. So that's what you're doing. It's a very dangerous thing, because you're saying that God is saying this. And when I asked him what the evidence was for that, no evidence. He just repeated the same thing. And so I gave him an example. I said, well, the Prophet Muhammad, he told us about this, that he told us about purity and cleanliness, and that there's no evidence for this, and basically that wasn't good enough for him. Then he says, oh, well, that's the Prophet and the time he lived and everything. So what am I supposed to do then? Yeah. If I can't take anything he says because he lived at a particular time, shall I just throw in the towel? And this is the argument that you frequently get from them. When they get put into a corner, they'll just say that, and they'll just then start repeating the same cultural thing again and again and again. And it doesn't matter how many times you say it, it's not correct because you've not provided evidence. If you provide evidence, fine, I might be wrong. I've told you what my understanding is, yeah, and so you need to provide me with yours. The proof is that, as far as I'm concerned, there is no evidence to suggest, yeah, except on your say so that is unclean. It's najis, it's impure, yeah. So obviously it was a bit awkward, really, was the situation, and so then I had to flick into another raft of rules and go through them, in machine fashion, click, 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 to actually resolve the situation myself. Yeah. So the evidences I got was, first of all, there was once a case where a companion of the Prophet. There was two companions of the Prophet. One was he was an Abyssinian, so he was like dark skin, and the other one was Arab. Yeah. And this was a long time after Islam had been established. And he said, so the Arab said to the Abyssinian, oh, you son of a black woman, as like an insult. Now, this was from the pre-Islamic days, yeah? And he was like shocked. And this brings up a point, which is that I'm not perfect. just like this guy's not perfect, yeah. So I'm not having a go at him because I still do things from Jahiliyyah, from ignorance, from pre-Islamic days, which I don't even think about. Yeah, they're not in my head until I actually do them. I think, oh wow, did I really do that? And then obviously I have to correct myself. Yeah. So those things still do exist in me. The only difference is I know when I'm doing it. I know that's wrong, and I know why because I've got all the evidences. It's just that I hadn't had a need until that point to actually use the evidence as I've got for that particular type of situation because it hadn't occurred. Yeah. So what happened was this Arab, as soon as he realized what he'd said, he said, "Look, I'm going to put my face on the ground, and you can put your head, so you can put your foot on my face." Yeah, as a way of atoning. And the black, the Abyssinian, he refused. Yeah, he said no, no, no. So this is like between people. You know how people should be. They should be pliant between themselves. Yeah, not trying to take vengeance all the time and being pliant. Yeah. There's another example where the Prophet Muhammad, he said about the Kaaba. The Kaaba's like that black cube structure in Mecca, which the Muslims all go and make pilgrimage to every year, and they walk around it. You might have seen it. And now the thing is, it's not on its original. It's not on its original structure. It's not original foundations. It's not. Sorry, it's not in the. It's not in the form that it was originally when Abraham originally built it. Originally, it was. It was longer. It was elongated. Yeah, it was more like a cuboid shape rather than the cube. It was like rectangular on two of its sides. Yeah, on four of its sides. So the Prophet Muhammad said, he said, had the people not been so close to just accepting Islam, Jahiliyyah, I would have actually had the Kaaba, that's what it's called, on its original foundations or its original shape. In other words, cuboid. Yeah. So here is the person who's actually supposed to be the head of the Muslims, who they all, revere and do whatever he says. And but yet what he's saying, I understand the sensibilities of the people, so I'm not going to push them beyond their capabilities. And this particular issue is something that what we say in Arabic is furuh. It's like a subsidiary matter. It's not. It doesn't actually really affect at all you devoting yourself to the Almighty. It doesn't, it's just a structure really. The people are more important than the structure. Although it's got a symbolic significance and it marks a particular place which is important for certain things to be done, certain devotional acts to be done. And this harks back to a video which I posted, or a point I made in a video on people accepting Islam, which you can find. I've got a playlist, actually, I think it's called I Talk About Islam, where somebody called Deconverted Man 1 asked me questions about Islam, and I post video replies. And I'll post the link to that and all these points I'm making in the description below. So when Islam had sort of like reached its, obviously the Quran was about to be completed, or it had been completed. It was like at the end of the Prophet's mission. He was sending out emissaries to the neighbouring areas. So he sent two emissaries to the Christians of Yemen. And he said, you are going to the people of the book, i.e. the Christians. The first thing you should call them to is La ilaha illallah, which means there's nothing worthy of you devoting your life, your actions, your intentions to, except God alone. And if they accept that, tell them there's 5 daily prayers. So the thing is, things are in stages as well, according to people's capabilities. It's all about pliancy, and not pushing people. And he also said, if you love for your you're not a true believer unless you love for your brother what you love for yourself. So I chugged through all of that, and came up with those particular rules to help me through that situation. And that's how I went forward. So the thing about Asperger's is that we are rules based, and the amount of rules that I actually went through to actually arrive at that conclusion that I should basically be pliant, and obviously I understood the situation. It just sort of like highlighted that to me. I'd never really taken it into account before because Islam is just basically, it's a very comprehensive, complete framework. And so oftentimes, you could be quite neurotypical and still go through the same processes. In fact, you have to, yeah. Although in the absence of certain like rules, you are allowed flexibility. As long as you're not sort of like just doing something off the top of your head, you've actually got some rules for what you're saying, even if you don't have all the rules. That's called qiyas or analogy. So yeah, it was interesting that it highlighted that point. And for people who have Asperger's, Islam is a dream. In terms of a structure. I mean, even if you don't buy into the God thing and the Quran thing, or prophets and angels and all the rest of it, analytically it's still a dream because it is a complete rule structure. It's completely rules. But it's very flexible and it's very human as well. So if you have Asperger's, I'd advise you to look into it. Because it's all evidence based. There's evidence for everything, and it's how would I say, it's organic, so it grows. It starts off at a certain point and then it spreads out from there, and that's the way that it's learned as well. So yeah, so that was just a point with regards to or a vlog with regards to excuse me, because I've still got flu, about rules, and Islam and Asperger's. Yeah, they all come together in me. So yeah, so have a great day. Catch you later, and yeah, if you like the video, click the like button, subscribe and share.